morning, Syndicate members. It is Wednesday. Live from Austin, Texas. I'm Tony Merwin. I'm with my good buddy, Joe Cool, and we are here to throw down. We got a great guest on for you today, man. I'm super pumped about this one. Joe,
Come on.
how you doing, my man?
I'm doing freaking good. Despite softball is definitely not my weekly win this week because last week was pretty rough, or the last night was pretty rough. But I'm doing
You got
freaking
hit in
good,
the
man.
leg and all kinds of stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, no, actually, no, I didn't. He was trying to freaking like break my foot multiple times though. Those things were coming in like freaking heat seekers, dude. But no, man, my freaking weekly win. Man, the energy in our office this week has been freaking insane, and part of that's to do with who we're about to bring on. But man, it's been like crazy contagious. It's like I'm like re-fired up. I'm sure SWAT had something to do with that too. So really, just SWAT and what that has propelled us into this week with just the energy, the environment, the freaking grind, bro. We've been going like over 10, 12-hour days, like just freaking getting it. So that's my weekly win.
Comes down to one word, right? Momentum.
Yes.
Right? I talked to this about this with Roger Short at the event, at SWAT event, right? I mean, I've seen Roger speak numerous times, but his level of energy at SWAT was so much higher. Right. And it's the energy that's in that room that just brings everybody up. Like every speaker was just completely charged. I don't know what it is about that event that does that for us, but man, the speakers were killing it. I came out with the same momentum, exactly right. And then certainly my weekly win is not only coming out of SWAT, but that training that I did yesterday was spot on, man. I got a lot of great compliments out of it. Was able to throw out some good value and just kind of give everybody a little bit of an overview of Medicare so they kind of understand the broad strokes and the opportunity. And we're going to roll right into it with another training next week. Super pumped about that. And I'm just going to keep that thing rolling. So I'm super pumped about that. I think that's going to be a great opportunity for people to really dig in and learn about Medicare and see if it's something they want to get into. Right.
Yeah.
And maybe elevate the people that are already in it a little bit.
You killed it. It was tons of information. So yeah, if you guys are watching this now and you didn't catch Tony's kickoff to his series, the Medicare opportunity, he had it was what, maybe 45 minutes, if that, but
35,
packed,
40 minutes.
I mean, loaded with tons of value. So if you have any, or any kind of thoughts of potentially getting into Medicare, that's where you start. Go get on that, right? And it was a very like killer high level overview, but still extremely informational and easy to understand. Even somebody who calls Medicaid Medicare can freaking understand it. So
absolutely. The goal there is I'm basically going to do probably, I would bet it's going to end up being maybe 8 to 10 modules in total. And it might even go further than that, but based on what I'm seeing so far, probably about 10 modules to get to the end of it. And we're just going to go step by step, right? Yesterday was the overview, and then we're going to continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper until we get into some of the really good nitty-gritty sales training towards the end. So that's going to be a great series, and I am pumped about it. And just like Joe said, if you missed it yesterday, it's recorded. It's in the group. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, so look out for all that stuff. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do it. It's pretty easy. You just click a button, subscribe, done. And then now we can be right there in your home delivering great content to you every time it pops out.
Wow.
We were fortunate to get Joey Yak collaborating with us to help us dress it up a little bit. So he's helping us with some of the back end content to make it pretty, make it sexy, and help get it out there on YouTube for you guys. So that is going to be an outstanding channel that's going to grow and grow and grow. I'm super pumped about it.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, y'all, let's get right into it, because we've got somebody who's really I haven't seen work ethic like this in a hot minute, if I'm being honest. And I love you guys. I'm not saying that you don't work, but man, this dude freaking works. And even when he's staying at our house, and even when we get back to the house, the man's is freaking on the phone. And so get your pen and paper out, y'all, because this is a call that you're gonna want to take notes on. Before we do that, make sure StreamYard can view your comments, right? It's a link. It's right at the top of the video, in the description of the video. Just click it. It literally takes like freaking 3 seconds to do it. We want to be able to interact. We want to be able to answer any questions, because we are going to open up for Q&A towards the end of the call. All right. So without further ado, everybody put a little hand clap emoji down in the comments for my man, Mr. Yoda Jenkins. What's up, my man?
What's going on? Let's get it. Let's go.
It's good to see you, brother, man. Thank you for coming down and hanging out with us. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Man, it's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you for even considering me being on the show. Hopefully, there's some value that we can all give to everybody listening. So let's get to it, man.
I
Come on.
guarantee it because I mean, and I don't want to steal too much thunder. Joe knows this a little more than I do, but somehow Joe was able to kidnap Yoda from SWAT and bring him down to Austin to train up his team. And then this dude's out in the field yesterday hanging. He's like, man, I'm in Austin. I'm not just going to hang out. Like, I'm going to come down and work. So he
Gotta
goes
work.
out in the field, makes himself a couple of grand. No big deal. Piece of cake.
Another day to get it. Another day in the field. How that
Absolutely. Well, if you could do us a favor, man, just introduce yourself, kind of tell everybody about who you are, what you're up to these days, and then we'll get into it a little deeper.
Yeah, man, 100%. So my name is Martin Jenkins. I go by Yoda. That's what most people know me by. So feel free. I have a sports background. So I grew up playing sports. Competing is just in my blood. It's what I love to do. I know it's what a lot of y'all love to do. Played college football at Clemson, and then I had a short stint in the NFL. The NFL for me stood for not for long because it was literally about 6 months. got to squeak into it for a few months. But at the end of the day, what I realized was with this insurance business, it's really similar to sports, right? The team environment, the competitiveness, the ability to make a lot of money, right? So it really does encompass a lot of the things that I loved about sports. So shortly after I retired or stopped playing, got introduced to the business, man, fell in love with it, and now I'm 10 toes down, feet in, face in, and we're just going after it, man. So it's been a journey. So looking forward to seeing what comes next, man.
Fantastic,
That's
man.
good.
You're certainly a great example of the business. I can tell you that from the little bit that I've gotten to hang out with you and get to know you. And it doesn't surprise me because I know who your mentors are in the business. So just makes sense. All that's going to pour into you, and you're going to continue to demonstrate that level of work ethic and that level of desire and heart that you put into it. So
it's a lot easier.
Beautiful to see.
Thank you. Yeah, and when you have mentors, great mentors, whether it's in business and life in general, just makes things a whole lot more clear. So we're all blessed, man. All blessed.
Now you're in the Dallas area now, right?
I'm in the Austin area, Dallas area right now. And I live in Atlanta. So born and raised.
That's right. You live in Atlanta. That's right. I was thinking you live in Dallas, but that's right. You're out in Atlanta. You work right out of John Wetmore's office, if I understand correctly.
His office is right next door to mine. So
what is that like? Getting to work so close to Mr. Wetmore?
Well, some people ask me because I live in Atlanta, but the office is technically in Kennesaw, which is about a 50-minute drive. So they're like, why do you drive 50 minutes twice a day? You just get a local office. And we have some offices that are closer. And I said, man, because my mentor in this business, it's like he's built an incredibly huge insurance agency, right? And been massively successful, especially over the last couple of years. So in my mind, it would be silly to not get around somebody like that, not be able to learn directly, from somebody like that just by making a 50-minute drive. So it's incredible to be able to do that. Have a question, be on recruiting calls, and literally just walk 3 steps around the corner and hey, this is the challenge we're facing. Hey, this is what we're going through. When you were at this stage, what did you do? And get that direct, just mentorship, that direct advice. I mean, that's priceless to me. So even if I was in Atlanta, he was in Dallas, I'd probably still be doing the same thing.
Well, I hope people picked up on that, right? Like, so that right there was a gem, right? Because we dropping gems now. Hey, we have, because of our new intro song, guys, we don't drop gold nuggets anymore. We drop gems. But like, what I love is that, you're willing. How many people are willing to do a 2-hour commute every single day to go work with their mentor, right? Or to go work with somebody who's been doing it for longer, or to go work with somebody who will let you walk into that office and come pick their brain and talk to them and learn from them. You just got to be willing to drive, right? And I promise you, there are people, maybe even people potentially watching the call right now, that wouldn't be willing to drive, to commute an hour one way each, or back and forth, and shoot. And we all know that Atlanta traffic, man, sometimes it ain't just 50 minutes, bro. It could be like damn near 2 hours, right?
Easily.
And so I love that. And real quick, so I wanted to kind of go back before we kind of get into your success, your very fast success that you've had here within the life insurance space. But, I kind of want to go back to maybe even, like before Clemson, right? Like, where did that competitiveness, where did that drive, where did you really start to feel it? Like, I mean, has it been like, man, hey, as soon as I can freaking walk, dude, I've been running, I've been catching footballs, like, I mean, type of stuff, right? Or is it like, was there somebody in your life right? Was it something that was an internal fire that, man, you just tapped into? Like, I want to, like, if you could kind of touch on some of that, because that dude, like, that's D1, like high level, high caliber freaking football, and you are a freaking stud. Like, guys, go look him up. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate that. I think for me, and I think a lot of us have that. Like we have that burning desire to really want to do something great and be something great. Maybe we know the lane that it is. Maybe we don't. I know for me, it started really really early on. So my dad played in the NFL. You know, my brother played D1 college football. So sports is really just in our blood. Like I said, I say that to say, I think it was like maybe middle school when I started playing. My dad was the head coach of the team. We had like championship caliber team, and I was like fourth string, and I was the coach's son. So, everybody knows how the coach's son is. It's like even if they suck, like they're starting quarterback. So I was literally fourth string. And I think for me, I've always been undersized, like in football. Y'all can't see me, but I'm 5'9", a buck 70. Playing against these giants physically, and so just having that underdog mentality. It's just like for me, that underdog mentality was, hey, I'm smaller than everybody. At the time, I was slower than everybody. I was weaker than everybody. So there's only one way to win, and that's going to be to outwork every single person that's in front of me. So middle school, outwork. High school, there wasn't bringing it back to sports, from age 16 to 18, there was not one day where I did not do at least an hour and a half workout. So it was, and that's a 16-year-old, right? And so I said, I'm undersized. If there's one way I'm going to be able to get to that next level, it's just going to be working, 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 working. Kept that mentality through college. And then now finding insurance, it could be something similar. Hey, there's bigger agencies, there's bigger companies, there's bigger whatever. The only way that I've been able to win in the past is just by outworking everybody, outworking my past self, and just bringing that into any field. I mean, it hasn't failed me yet, so let's keep doing it.
How did it feel to sign a get a scholarship or sign a deal almost with Clemson? How'd that feel?
Man,
Was that like a whole shit, like, man, I've been working my whole life for this, man, type of thing? Like, how did that feel?
it felt great. It felt great. I mean, it felt amazing. I was 17 at the time. I had visited a bunch of schools, maybe like 20 schools. I went on a tour, ended it with Clemson. They didn't offer me, when I met them. And then I think about two days later, they called me and offered me, and I committed on the spot. I knew exactly where I wanted to go. But it felt good, man. And I think what was even better was the coaching that we had, right? Dabo Sweeney being the leader of the team. I mean, he was sitting in my house, in my living room, we were just talking shop, talking about football, talking about the future of the program. And the Clemson we see now, for anybody that follows college sports, in 2010, that's where he said he's going to take it. He said, hey, I want you to be a part of that building. I want you to be a part of that foundation. And this is where we're going to take the program. So just, having somebody with that vision, I was excited to dive in. I'm like, let's go. Let's go.
Talk about him a little bit, man, because I think a lot of us would never have the opportunity to hear a coach again of that caliber lead, right? And I know we talked about it a little bit off screen, where you're like, dude, this guy was like, he was the best leader, or one of the best leaders I'd ever been around, right? And what he did for the players. Highlight a little bit on that, just because I think that's just cool to hear, right? Like, a guy who's coaching a program like that is actually like not just an asshole, right? Basically.
Right. No, far from it. I mean, God-fearing man, always encouraged the faith side of our life. I mean, he always said it. He's like, hey, y'all are coming to play football, but I'm really going to develop you as men. So a lot of the things he did, whether it was once or twice a week, was literally sitting down with the entire team or sitting down with the leadership, and just teaching how to not only be a man, but how to lead, how to carry yourself. He used to always say this quote: when you do the common things in an uncommon way, you'll command the attention of the world. So now our insurance agency is called The Uncommon Way, and
That's why I'm like, yo, is that where it's from?
Nice.
that's where it comes from. But that's just going back to the basics. Hey, do the common things in an uncommon way. We can relate that to what we do, right? What does that mean? A common thing is picking up the phone and calling somebody. But uncommon is picking up the phone 400 times in a day and calling those people 3 times each. A common thing is getting in your car and driving to somebody's house and knocking on the door. Uncommon thing is doing that 20, 30, 40 times in a day just to leads that you just got, right? So it's just literally carrying yourself in a different standard, man. And, try to live by that as best as we can. And, just him teaching that and pouring that into us, man, it's been phenomenal.
That's
so
good.
Shout out to him for that. Shout out to you, Devil. If you get
Shout out to great coaches, man. When you got to Clemson, right? You coming out of high school, you're obviously a stud. You get this deal to go to Clemson. You get to Clemson. What was that like when you walk in that locker room and you're hanging out with guys that have been there for a couple of years, probably, right? Some studs that have been out there. They've been working out. They've been growing. They've been training. And then now you're the small fish in a big pond again. Like, did you have any doubt when you rolled in there? And maybe how did you get through some of that?
I can't say that I had doubt, but that underdog, that chip on the shoulder grew so big. I was not walking in the locker room like, oh, this is so and so, and nice to meet. I was not friends. I probably didn't talk for my first couple months on campus. I'm laser focused. I don't care about this. I'm eating lunch by myself. Eventually that changed. Now, developed some really cool relationships. But I had that underdog mentality. I was, 2-3 star recruit. There was a bunch of, 5 stars that we all came in together. DeAndre Hopkins, a lot of people know him. Obviously, Deshaun Watson ended up coming a couple years afterwards, but some big names, right? And so for me, just having that same mentality, hey, what got me here was outworking. What's going to keep me here is probably going to be outworking. So staying late after practice, continuing to do drills, watching extra film. My first year, I was laser focused.
That's good. And I think,
much-
real quick, I wanted to just write this one down too, guys. Just because you're working really hard doesn't mean like you get to let up, right? And I think that's something that it's the consistency piece that changed everything for Yoda. He didn't just work really hard in 8th grade and then high school and college was a fucking breeze, right? It's literally like he is outworking, but he's not just outworking everybody for a year or 2 years or 3 years. The guy, he literally has done it since he was freaking, like what you said, 14 to 16 is when it really started, right? Like from 14 all the way through college, this dude is sticking with it and outworking people. So I hope you guys hear that. Like, it's great to work hard, but if you don't have the consistency paired with it, like what are we doing, right? Like that's the whole point of working hard, is you got to keep working hard, right? So I love that.
Yeah, man, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. How much of that mentality obviously is carried over? I assume it's extremely congruent. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what I continue to hear. I hear these coaches that you learn from. I hear this work ethic that you developed. And then now you found your space underneath the coach that sounds like he has probably the same values that those other coaches talked about, right? How can I make you work harder? How can I make you do more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think most of it, if not all of it, has carried over, right? All of it. So just the mentality, I feel like, and it's almost the same thing. Like walking into this space is almost like walking into a massive campus with stars and the people who are doing it in the big, and you could either say, oh, okay, perfect, I've made it. I'm around, the most successful millionaires, billionaires in the industry, or say, hey, you know what? That's a level that I aspire to get. Let me maybe add some value to them. Let me hopefully learn from them, and let me work. If they're working at this level, let me double work so we can close that gap a little bit more. So I think all of it has come over, man. I'm just pumped about it. I love this industry. I think more people need to know about it. More people need to get into it, man, because there's enough for all of us, right? Plus more, and people need help. We want to help our families, man. So it's just a good mix. I love it.
Absolutely. How long have you been in insurance now?
In insurance, right at about 2 years total.
Okay. Did you start working with Wetmore? Was that your first foray into insurance, or did you start in another organization and then gravitate over there later? Or?
Yeah. So my entry to insurance is very different from most people. So I saw the industry, saw the potential. Me being who I am, I said, let's just start our own insurance company. No sales experience, no insurance experience. Didn't know anything. Just me and my best friend. We ended up just doing it. And it was, we ended up getting moderately successful, but we really wanted to propel to a level that 2 inexperienced agents that knew nothing and just didn't know much it'd take a while to get to. So once I met Wetmore, man, it just made so much sense. Like he had the knowledge, they had the system. He had been successful and created success. So it's like, I'm personally, from my athletic background, I'm used to plugging into something, right? Clemson, I didn't create Clemson. I didn't create the coaching staff. I didn't build the school. I didn't say, hey, where are we going to plant this university? It was already there, plugged into a system, and just followed the roadmap they already had. So when kind of I saw Wetmore's opportunity, it made a whole lot of sense because it was really the same. And all that's missing is the hard work. That's what I can do. So let's get rocking. So that was kind
Yeah.
of my mentality walking into the industry.
And I think it's about plugging into a system that works too,
Yeah,
right? Like, I
absolutely.
mean, like Clemson, since like, I mean, yeah, you plug into that, that's a system that works, right? And it's got the proof behind it, right? And I think that's important too, y'all. Like, don't just like not do your due diligence. Don't do like not do the research. Like, make sure if you're gonna go plug into a system, like make sure it's actually gonna work for you, right? And it's a good fit for you and what you're trying to do. And I love that you said that because there's some people that have plugged into systems that, man, you are wishing that you hadn't, and then it's already too late because you signed on the dotted line, right? And I've seen that a lot. That's a little bit different, but I've seen it a lot on the PNC side, where that is like it's totally different than just like getting a release from somebody, right? Something like that. Where on the PNC
Yeah,
side, man, you sign that 5-year contract. I mean, you signed a 5-year contract, dude. Like you ain't. There's not really much we can do at this point, right? And
yeah,
so I definitely encourage people, make sure you're doing your due diligence before you go plug into that system. But find a system to plug. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? And I
exactly.
think Yoda, we've been talking about that is like, why would I not do that if I see all the results and I see the numbers and I see the proofs? Why would I try to go like figure it out on my own? Like, it just don't make sense. I'm like, dude, I would much rather do it this way.
I think
Exactly.
that comes down to two things: your ego, number one,
Mm,
right? Our ego gets in the way and leads us a lot of times, and then two, naivety, just not understanding like how difficult a business like insurance can be if you don't have the right system, if you don't have the right mentors around you, right?
yep.
So
That's very
that's that.
true. Yeah.
I think it's ego and naivety, 100%.
So then let's shift to, and then we're gonna, and then once we get over this, we'll stop talking about football. Even though, I mean, shoot, maybe we just keep talking about football because Yoda's like, dude, I freaking love football, man.
Let's do it.
Let's pivot. I want to hear about your mindset when you got to the NFL, right? And you had that short stint, and really, and you hadn't touched on it yet, but the reason that you left, right? And the reason that that was a short stint, the injury and everything. Like, talk to us about that mindset, right? And I kind of just want to hear where you were at in that, right? Like, and how did you bounce back so quick? Even though, because I mean, dude, those are lifelong dreams, right? And
Mhm.
this, we might be getting a little deep here, and I hope you're comfortable with being vulnerable, but I
100%.
really like, what was that to like, damn, I finally made it. And then it was like, but then how to bounce back. You didn't stay down, right? You didn't stay injured mentally, physically, or whatever. Maybe kind of touch a little bit about that mindset and how you were able to pivot so quickly into success.
Yeah, man. So I think walking in to the NFL locker room, into the campus, if you will, right? The facilities was incredible. Um, at the point in time, this was in 2015. It was the Jets, and they at that time they had the most incredible facility. So walking into that was obviously just like breathtaking. It's like, this is it. Walking into the locker room and you see your name on the jersey and things like that. All that stuff was great. Um, but at the end of the day, my goal wasn't just to make it through, right? And
Mm,
so I think a lot of that comes down to, where do you want to get in the first place, right? Like, if you want to go somewhere, understand where you're going. If I need to drive somewhere, I'm in my desk and I'm not just gonna get in the car and hopefully I just end up there, because that's not gonna happen, right? So for me, yeah, walking in the doors and seeing everything and seeing my name on the jersey, that was part of it. But the real goal was to get some real success, sign the $50-100 million contract, be in the league 10 plus years. So I think my goal was, or not, excuse me, not my goal, but my mentality was the same as walking into Clemson camp. It's like, I'm the underdog. I'm back to being the underdog. Nobody knows me, and there's only one way. How I know, there's only one way I know to level up myself in this situation, and that's to work. Like, work, work, work. So I said, if I'm gonna, for me, I'm like, if I'm gonna stand out in any type of way, they're gonna be like, okay, I don't know who that kid is, but I've never seen anybody work like that. And that's
mm,
exactly what ended up happening. My first couple practices ended up being called out by some coaches. Like, for example, what I would do is, the night before, so we would get our playbook for the next week or so. So you can exactly what they're about to implement the next day. So I'm not going to wait until the next day so they can teach it to me. I taught it, I would teach it to myself, learn the plays, then they would teach it again, and then we can go run it. So just being able to pick up that system quicker. Small example, but I say that to say it was that same mentality. And I mean, it seems so simple, but it's like, let me learn the playbook quicker, let me work harder, let me run faster, let me, like, sprint on every play. And it's just, that's the only way I knew how to succeed. And I kept doing that. So that was really just my mentality. Again, same thing as it was the last 15 years.
Where'd you draw that inspiration from to have that mentality? Like, is there anywhere that you went mentally, physically? Is there something that you ever reflected on to kind of get that inspiration and make sure that you always had that mindset ready to roll?
Some music,
Yeah.
maybe a song.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's just being that underdog that was so many people when I was younger, especially, like, doubted me, right? And so I think, as long as it can be healthy and you can fuel something from a healthy perspective, you can turn that into some motivation. Like, for example, another personal story, when I think I was a freshman in high school, me and my head coach football, we didn't really have a good relationship. Um, so I remember him telling me one time, like, man, dude, you'd be lucky to even go D3. Like, get out my face. Like, we just didn't have a real good relationship at the time. Hope he's doing well now. But I say that to say I can think. I remember being in the Clemson weight room, and I'm about to, they put on a bunch of plates, and it's like my go, and I just think of him, and I just, think, somebody doubt me, this person doubt me. And I mean, we all have different references in our life. You don't want it to be an unhealthy way where you're obsessing about some doubt, right? I understand that could go the wrong way. But at the same time, use some fuel, right? Prove some people wrong. And that was just that underdog chip. And I just put all that. And I mean, thinking about it right now, I'm like, oh, let's go. Let's start working again. Like, we got some people to prove wrong. But more importantly, we got ourselves to prove right. Like, I got big goals. I know I can hit them. A lot of people watching, y'all have massive goals that you can hit them. And it's just like thinking about certain things just helps you channel and keep your goals in front of you. And I think me just thinking about that stuff just gets me fired up. So that was definitely a piece of it right there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's good. That's good. So let's kind of talk about. We're going to kind of shift a little bit to kind of more some tangible, kind of practical type stuff, guys, that you can implement in your agencies. Because I promise you, everything that Yoda's doing to run his business, you want some of it, if not all of it. I promise you. Even like what he's doing on the life. Anybody watching PNC, I promise you, you can implement this type of stuff into your agencies. So we talked about, and if you guys didn't see on Monday, Yoda did a dial day all day, literally live phone dials. That is also within the group. Just go to the media tab, hit videos, and then literally following suit right after that, he did another hour-long training of phone scripts and then also what to do while you're sitting in the house. I mean, just invaluable freaking knowledge. So go catch that. We're not gonna kind of touch on that on this call because you already have access to that. Use your resources, right? We've heard that before, right? Like, why would I have to go through that again if it's already there? Like, just go click on the tab.
Yeah,
I want to talk about your schedule. Um, Give people like, okay, here is my schedule. Here is like when I'm doing this, because I don't know if we highlighted that too much. I think we talked about what you did during that allotted amount of time. Talk about like how you really set up your day, how you set yourself up to win.
that's perfect. Like, just everything, the whole entire week.
Whole week. Whole
Cool.
week. Yep.
Very easy, very simple.
My, jo-
Monday,
my job is simple.
my job is simple. I say that. That's why I'm calling.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, and the way that we like to run our life agency is, for the most part, full time. It's dialing on Mondays, meaning you're getting your leads, your prospects, whatever. You're dialing them to book appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday. Typically, it's in home. Doesn't have to be. The majority of it is. I say actually, it's probably half and half. So dialing Mondays, running appointments Tuesday, Wednesday. Dialing Thursdays, running appointments for Friday, Saturday. Sunday can be a free day, supplement day, whatever the case may be. Rinse, cycle, repeat on Monday. That's the overall schedule. The minimum goal is to run 30 appointments in that week. Usually we're shooting for 35 to 40 plus, but 30 is usually like the drop dead minimum. So we're looking at booking 15 appointments on Monday minimum, 15 appointments on Thursday minimum, running in between that, and then doing calls and agency and recruiting, whether it's in the car, in between appointments, whatever the case, in between that time. As you've seen, being at the house, just being on calls and all kind of stuff. So that's generally what my schedule looks like every week.
And then what are those time frames? Because I think that's another thing that honestly, really, I admire because of when you start and how late you go. And I think that's also another thing where people we talk about this a lot, not to beat a dead horse here. Like, you call yourself full time, but are you really full time? Do you really want it that bad where like, are you going to run an appointment at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or whatever? And I know we touched a little bit on that on the previous training, but maybe kind of touch a little bit on like, hey, here are the times. Like, here's what we're doing.
100%. So I'm never on Mondays and Thursdays not making a dial or not starting to make my dials after 8, right? 7:30 is typically between 7:30 and 8, right? So 8 comes around at the latest, boom, I'm on it. Time frame wise, a 60 dials per hour is typically the goal. 50 to 60, anything under 45, like you're doing it slow. So if you're in the 30 range, you're probably on Instagram or Facebook or doing something, right? So we stay focused, 60 per hour. Dialing is usually from 8 to 8. So certainly in the beginning when I had no training, no team, no nothing, it was just straight dialing. Now it looks like dialing from 8 to about 1, doing trainings from 1 till about 4 to 5, and then dialing again from about 5 to 8:30. That's every dial day. And then appointments is the same thing, 8 to 8. Booking my earliest 8, booking my latest, typically at 8, 8:30. 9, 10 if I have to, but usually 8, 8:30 is the cutoff.
That's good. And then we got a couple questions. Tony just put one of them up on the screen. Do you use a dialer for those leads?
Sometimes I do, not always. I haven't used it in probably two months or so, but when I do use it, it's phone burner. So
Yeah, phone burner. And then leads. Where do you get your leads?
so all over the place. I mean, there's vendors everywhere. I mean, a lead is a person who, hey, I need help with insurance. I mean, you can Google leads. We have a CRM that we use. There's vendors all over Facebook. So really, I get them all over the place. I love to have a mix.
Yep. I think that's good. That's important, right? I think one thing I've learned is we're kind of newer into this space. And I mean, that's why I'm trying to be around you as much as possible. And we're doing the things that we're doing. I've kind of learned that literally it's you need to have multiple sources. And I think sometimes we miss that, but it makes sense. Why just have one? Right, when I can go get a mix of them all, because not one could only be good for a week. And I see this now, granted, this is specific to when it comes to leads, I would say. Like sometimes, man, you have the most baller week and them leads are freaking fire, right? Like, man, this is the best freaking lead vendor out there, dude. Give them all my money. And then like the next batch like sucks because that's just how leads work. Anybody that ever worked leads, it's a numbers game, right? It's all about a numbers game. And maybe talk a little bit about that, like how you were able to kind of take a hold of that, like, right, like it's all about the quantity, it's about the volume, right? And we do that, and I know that you do that with your team, even on the comp side, like what we're giving out, like, because we know it's a numbers game, right? And I think that's so important to understand when it comes to insurance.
Man, 100%. So when it comes, we'll start the sales side and then we'll do the compensation side. The sales side, it is strictly numbers. What made my personal, what kind of showed me my light bulb moment, if you will, is, I mean, in the beginning, my first couple months, I was doing anywhere from 600 to 800 dials just manually per dial day, right? So we're looking at about 12 to 1500 per week. And there was, my mentor, Wetmore, right? He kind of comes from a numbers accounting type background. And he said, hey, I remember when I was in the field, I made a spreadsheet and I broke down the dials that I made, the people that answered, how much money I made, X, Y, and Z. So I said, cool, I'm going to do the same thing. So 1 week, booked a bunch of appointments, made a bunch of dials, and I broke it down to where it said, for every appointment that I booked, right? So I got all the appointments, all the money that I made, all the dials that I made. For every appointment that I booked, I can't remember the exact number, but it was right around like $373. It was right around that area, right? Every appointment that I booked, right? So whether I sold it, whether it no-showed, whether they spit at me on the porch and said, get off, every appointment was $373. Then I broke it down to, okay, how much was that per dial? And I can't remember the number. It might have been around 15, 17, I can't remember. But I say that to say, if we woke up on dial day and I said, hey, Joe, hey, Tony, hey, whoever, for every appointment that you book, I'm going to pay you $373 regardless of the outcome. Like, how many will we book? We wouldn't care. We'd be like, oh, appointment, right? And we would literally just be booking them all over the place. Or if I did it with dials, hey, you get $11 per dial, whether they pick up, whether you get sent to voicemail. How many dials would you make? You would literally be dialing until your thumbs bleed and you got carpal tunnel in your fingers, right? When you phrase it like that, we would probably go crazy. But honestly, if you put in the work, that's literally how the numbers work out, right?
Yep.
Regardless of whether you sell it or whether it's a no-show, like that's how much you're getting paid. So I think when I broke down my numbers like that, I said, wow, it really doesn't matter what happens. If I put the numbers in my favor, for every appointment that I book, I'm gonna get paid $300. So let's just book as many as we can. And that helped just switch the mindset. And that's kind of the mindset that we teach.
What was your worst? What was your I wouldn't call it. We won't say the worst. We'll call it funny. What was the funniest, the weirdest, the worst thing that's happened to you? You were talking about like if somebody like if some even if they spitting on me from the front porch or something like that. I'm like I wonder if that actually happened. So I wanted to ask because Tony's got some funny stories. Not as intense as what like I've heard some other people's like stories when they're in house. Tony's just had like a hodgepodge of all of them happen to him. You know.
Anything
What
that could
was
happen to an outdoor salesperson, it's all happened to me.
yeah. What was yours, Yoda? I gotta hear this.
Man, let me let me think for a quick sec. I think there was one, and it really wasn't even. It's not even gonna be that crazy. That was it. But I pulled up to what I thought was gonna be a home, and it was like a tent basically, right? Like not even that. It was like some wood and some plastic. And I called and I said, I'm at the address. I think. Then somebody comes popping out, and I'm just like, yo, this is the craziest thing. Like fill out some buckets, we sit down, but at the end of the day, hey, these people are saying, hey, I need help. So who am I to not drive down that dirt road and help them? We sat down, had a great conversation, and they ended up getting a policy. I hope the mail made it to them. I probably should check on them.
That's great.
Well, it's not the craziest story, but I say that to say, some fun stuff, some interesting stuff will happen. And if you're still in the field, I mean, look, you will be entertained. I promise you that.
Absolutely. Especially if you're doing the right volume, right?
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. Numbers game. You talk to enough people, you're going to see some weird shit from time to time.
Exactly.
And I want to just backtrack one thing. When you were talking about looking at your appointments based on profit per appointment, regardless of the outcome, I love that perspective. It's a similar perspective on looking at like lead cost from a investment versus an expense. Same kind of mindset there. When that snapped with me one day, that I started looking at my leads, not as what is my cost per lead, what is my profit per lead, right? As soon as I realized that, I'm like, well, how much money am I making for every lead, regardless of the outcome? And when I realized that, I'm like, shit, I just need to buy more leads.
That's it. More leads.
No problem at all. I'm making $50 for every lead that I get, regardless. So now let's just buy more leads. I tried that same mentality at the poker room once, but those guys weren't having it. Because when I was playing a lot of poker, I was tracking, and I realized that regardless of the outcome, every time I show up to a game, I'm gonna make about $500. I think it was like 547 or something. And so I walked in one day. I'm like, hey, I was just looking at my numbers. It says my average win per every session is 547. So I'll just save everybody time. Y'all just pull together $547, give it to me, and I'll leave, and then y'all can go play poker. And they didn't like that. They all laughed.
Like, yeah, probably not.
But that's
about
a beautiful mindset to have, looking at it that way.
What are you spending on leads? How many leads are you buying? And I know we touched on this a little bit, but we'll come back to it. We touched on it on Monday, but let's talk about it a little bit here now for anybody that didn't potentially catch that yet. How many leads are you buying, and how much are you spending? And I think that's the important part. Not like a lot of people can say I buy a lot of leads, right? But I love hearing about like the actual dollar sign behind it, because that's what scares people.
Yeah.
Like that's what scares people from buying leads, because they're like, oh shit, like it's like it's not just like $100, right, or $200. And so talk about how many you buy, and then what you're spending on those.
Yeah, for sure.
What he's investing, Joe.
Exactly. Yep.
Every day I like to have at least 100. 150 is ideal. 175 is you can't lose, but at least 100. Spending anywhere from, I'd probably say 1,700 to 2,500 per week.
Yep.
And that can vary. My numbers vary because there's been $80 leads, and there's been 80-cent leads, and everything in between. But on average, it's about 1,700 to about 1,500, and that'll get me the quantity that I need. Because me personally, and really anybody, quantity matters first, and then we can focus on quality, right?
Yep.
For what you want to invest into your business, once we hit that quantity number, okay, if there's some more room to invest in things like that, now we can start focusing on maybe some mail and some drops and some things like that. But always quantity first, have enough people to talk to, then we can focus on that. So that's typically what it looks like every single week. 10 grand a month or so, 8 to 10 grand a month.
Yep. Who's
And if
spending?
you don't
Who's
mind
it?
us just asking, what are you profiting on that investment?
I'm a good bit, anywhere from a 4 to 5%, or not 4 to 5x on my money. I say for insurance leads, that's about. I mean, once you get develop your skill, that's about average. Yeah, put in $1, take out $4. I'll do that all day.
Right.
Twice
There
on
ain't, hey,
Saturday.
to coin Wetmore, man. Hey, there ain't no confusion, man.
You know?
There ain't no. Yeah, that shit's dope.
You want to make more money, just put in more dollars and get them out. It almost becomes that simple, man, which is what I love about this business.
Yeah,
Real quick,
awesome.
we had a question. Any CRM recommendation from one of our Facebook users, because you didn't let StreamYard. That's why you're late to. That's why I was waiting to answer their question, because you didn't let StreamYard view your name. But Facebook user asked, any CRM recommendations?
I don't actually. You know what? I've used a couple. I haven't really found one that's like, oh, this is the golden one. I think for dials and auto dialers, Phone Burner is perfect, and you can kind of use it as a CRM. But other than that, honestly, I'm kind of old school. I write stuff on paper. I still have almost a half size filing cabinet where I'll put some leads and appointments. So I think the most important thing, like we're talking about, the activity and stuff like that. And then I'm sure there's a bunch. Maybe you and Tony can recommend something like that. But I don't use a ton of different ones.
Yeah, I'm not versed in that life space to give that recommendation either. But hey, guess what, guys? You can check out our preferred vendor list here within Insurance Syndicate, and there are CRMs that are specific to life and health. So go check them out. There are P&C CRM recommendations on there as well, and really just like tons of more really recommendations, I would call them. So go check out the preferred vendor list. We've got multiple options there for you, and most of them, at least half of them, you've got a discount because you're a member of Syndicate. So definitely go check those out.
Absolutely. Man, this has been an awesome call. I want to go and go and go, but I know we got to respect everybody's time. So number one, thank you again for coming out. I did want to ask one more question, and I would love it if you could reflect back and give us an example of one moment in Clemson playing in a game where you had an opportunity, tough situation maybe, and you had maybe a moment of glory or just an opportunity, and you were able to take advantage. And if there was maybe one play, one
Let's hear about
game,
that
one
pick six,
thing.
baby. We got a pick six. Yeah, come on now. What we got?
I'll do one of the most memorable moments for me, right? Especially with, like we've talked about, kind of the underdog mentality. So it was against Florida State. This was about the end of the third quarter. Jameis Winston, he was the starting quarterback at the time. And so I was playing in the slot, and anybody who doesn't know the slot, I'm just kind of playing in the center of the field. And there's some typically, safeties and corners who are on the outside. They did some type of formation switch because we were in man, where I ended up on the outside of the field. So I'm super close to the sideline. The whole team is on the other side of the field. Well, across from me is like their tallest receiver, right? And I'm 5'9". He was about 6'6" at the time. And we're by ourselves. There's not another player for 20 yards that way, right? So I remember, I'm guarding him. I'm sitting in front of him. Obviously, the whole stadium is looking, and Jameis stops the play, and he just like points at us because I'm going to you. Like,
Oh man!
Just stops the play, just looks back. Him, we're going at him. So I'm looking. I'm like, okay, it's on. Like it's me and him. I ended up defending it. He threw a high ball, and we both jumped up. Nobody ended up catching it. But I just say that to say that's probably one of the most memorable times because it's like the pressure is on. There's 90,000 people watching you. You're one of the shortest dudes on the field right now, and it's just you and another guy on the island. It's like best man win, and I think that was, it was a good time and something to remember because it's just that mentality that we're talking about. It's like you're that underdog, you're that X, Y, Z that somebody's trying to beat you, outwork you, get a ball over you, write more appointments, whatever it is, and it's just like you're just going for it. So that the fact that we can do that in this business every single day, I think is phenomenal. So I always remember that. Like, hey, let's keep that mentality going. And even when we get on the top, we're gonna act like we're not on the top, and we're gonna keep doing it again and again. So that's the fun thing about it.
Love it, man. I love
I
it.
do have one last thing. I'm sorry. Speaking to your future, where are you headed next? Like, what is like one big goal on your horizon that you're within the business insurance world specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where is Martin Jenkins headed?
Yeah, well, definitely $100 million agency, $100 million plus agency. And what I mean, that's not a long term goal. My goal is to do that within certainly the next 3.5 years. And another goal, there is a lot of resources in the insurance industry now. There are a lot of big players. There's a lot of people like Integrity and some other private equity firms who infuse your business with resources, with capital, and make you go. If you're going 10 times fast, you can go, 100 times faster. And I think one of my big goals, not I think, one of my big goals is, and what I will do is partner with one of those companies in the next 3 years as well. So those two are kind of my medium to short term goals. In between time, it's just getting agents, dialed in, getting them paid, of course, helping them understand how lucrative this industry can be as long as you have the right mindset, the right resources, and the right work ethic. And you approach this thing right. And I mean, the sky is literally the limit. And I'm not a big cliche type of guy, but it's literally, you can be from, no sales background, no this background, not even know anybody, and be in a brand new city and make something super, super great financially for your life. So, man, just helping as many people do that as possible. And we're going to get there. Promise you
Let's
that.
go.
Well
Let's
said.
go.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Well, man, thank you again for coming out. It's been a super pleasure. Like, this has been a big privilege for all of us and all of our viewers. So thank you. And then hopefully, when are you headed back to Atlanta?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay. I may not get to catch you again anytime soon, but I will see you on the flip side. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been an outstanding episode. Another one. Just a couple of quick reminders. We're here every Wednesday for you, 9 a.m. Central. I'm doing some Tuesday trainings now for those Medicare geeks out there and people that want to learn that. So keep your eyes peeled. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, man. We're pushing out some content. We're dressing it up. And we are just getting started. So this is going to be, it's the fastest growing group on Facebook. And no joke, we're going to keep this thing blowing up. So thank y'all again for coming out. And we will see y'all next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central, live from Austin, Texas.
Hey, it's Wednesday, y'all. The week ain't over. And after hearing that, man, y'all better get to work, man. Otherwise, Yoda gonna come over there and outwork you, bro. I'm telling you. Let's get it. Hey, thank everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Syndicate members. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week.
Y'all have a good one.